Hi, welcome back to Nancy Said. In this video we're going to be looking at trebles and how to keep your edges straight in trebles, and that's UK terms. I'm going to work it and then we'll have a wee look at some things where you might want to improve on. We start with 3 chains in trebles, and I would say make those generously. So it says those 3 chains, you can see them there. 1, 2, 3. The top one is the top of your first stitch. Those 3 chains count as your first stitch. What does that mean? That means that's your first stitch and it's now considered worked by these 3 chains. So you don't need to work in there anymore. You've just worked it by doing those 3 chains. So that's why you won't work that stitch, but instead we're able to hop over to that stitch. And you've got your first 2 stitches made. Whoa, it's bulging out, isn't it? We'll tackle that on the next row. So we've worked our first 2 stitches. I've got 10 in total. So we'll work across to the edge, and it's over at this edge that you're very likely to struggle if you haven't really been, confident about this in the past. What I recommend you do here, we have 3 more posts left to work. You can see the top of the first 2, 1, 2, and the third one is our false stitch, our 3 chains which counted as a stitch. 1, 2, and when we work that one, this one disappears. Oh, which is where you get your bikini coming in, your nice little triangle, because you're losing stitches. So let's know that we've got 3 more posts to work. 1, 2, 3. That's the head, and that's going to be the head there. So a treble in the first of 3, treble in the next one. And now we skipped it at the start. We can't afford to skip it here. So it looks straight, except when you turn, you've 1 missing, and your work would start to decrease by accident. So let's find it. How do we find it when it looks like a fat worm? It's next door to this penultimate stitch here. So that was the second stitch in. We know it's somewhere here, it's somewhere beyond it. And it's actually in there. And what I do is I tilt that forward, I twist it out, and I'm looking for that little eye. And I'll go in there and I'll work my last stitch, and you can see I ease it on with my thumb and forefinger here. So I'm going to work it and then show you another way to help you see it. And that means, hey presto, we've got our 10 stitches back. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And I do recommend trying this on a short number of stitches so that you can get confident. So that was easy enough. Let's go back a minute to here. If we tip our work back to when we created these stitches, there we can see the 3 chains that counted as our first stitch. 1, 2, 3. And we know that's this top one which we're looking for. So if we put our hook in that way and turn back, we can see, let me just fix this. This is where we're looking. So if I take that out very slowly, that is what we're looking for when we're looking for the last stitch, which was a false treble. Top of the turning chain, that's called, the top of the turning chain. So there it is. Not so hard to see. So let's work it. We'll try another row together. Turn. Chain 3, and here we want to be generous because it's hard enough to find. We don't want to scupper ourselves. So there's the chain 3. 1, 2, 3. So it's this one that we're going to be looking for on the other way back. It counts as our first stitch. So if we're looking at our stitches, I'm always pulling at my work. I want you to do the same, pull it out. You can see that's the first stitch, which is now considered worked. by this 3 chains. So we're not going to be going back in that stitch again. We're going to be going to the second stitch over. That's stitch number 2. So let's go over to the edge where we'll look and see how to find this thing again. Feels good to be back in the classroom. I've got my bossy head on. Neil will be relieved. So last 3 stitches. Easy to spot, easy to spot. Oh, ho, 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 ho. So here, here, and the last stitch, I twist it out. Oh, there she is. Right in there. And it's easy to spot because we were generous in our 3 chains. I can't emphasize that enough. You're better with a baggy stitch because chances are you'll be putting a seam on it or bordering it than a tight little nasty thing you can't see. So I hope that helps. That is when you're working in trebles, and the next video I'm going to show you what happens when you're working in half trebles, which are, well, my least favorite stitch because they're really hard to see. There's so much going on, but we're going to be looking at that because as much as I hate them, I love them too. Nice little half treble. Who doesn't like a little mini? So thanks to Louise for that request to see that, because it really is so important, really essential. One thing I do want to say is when you work 3 chains that count as a stitch, you will get these holes. Nobody likes them, not even me. So I've also got a video on how to alter that slightly, break the rules and tidy that up a little bit. But it really is important to learn the basics of this, because when you get into lace work, then you don't know what you're looking at. And it really is important for you to look and study your edges, study your stitches as you go. Thank you so much, guys. I am loving this today. I'm in my happy place. It must be getting slightly easier. Thanks so much for checking in. Bye.